Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast for 2025. I am so excited for this year and I'm sure you probably are too. As you can hear, I'm in the car, so there we go, just everything's all good. Now, I just wanted to say too that if my voice sounds a little bit different than normal, it's because I'm just recovering from a little bit of pneumonia. Well, I'm pretty sure it was pneumonia. The doctors said they weren't sure, but I'm pretty sure it was pneumonia. But anyway, if I sound a bit strange, that's all it is. So, I'm on my way to vacation right now. To the country. I really love going away to Dulsford and Ballarat and Bendigo and all those sorts of places, as you know. So I just thought I'd take advantage of being in the car where it's all nice and quiet so that I could record this episode for you. So today what I want to do is talk with you about how you can let go of seeing NDIS and perhaps even if we've got time EAP clients and get more private clients this year for your private practice. And there are lots of reasons that you might want to do this. So especially if you're a counsellor, a lot of counselling just isn't covered anymore under NDIS. If you're not with ACA or PACFA. So in the past, you could certainly do counselling if you weren't with ACA or PACFA. There was just a different line item that you used, but now that's no longer accessible to counsellors. So you might be in a position where you've got to let go of a lot of your clients and you need to replace them, right? So how do you find private clients, private paying clients for your private practice? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I guess the first thing to say is, changes happen in private practice all the time. And it's just a part of life. And so we have to get okay with changes happening. And so part of that is looking at, okay, this change has happened, now how do I deal with it, what do I do? So if you want to get some more private fee paying clients for your practice, it's not as hard as you might be thinking, and it's not as hard as you might hear other people talk about. For years and years and years, I had a fully booked diary with private fee paying clients, and it was all totally fine. No problem whatsoever. So let me tell you how I did it, and I'll just share my experience with you, and you can take what resonates and leave the rest, okay? So the first thing that I did was I made a mistake. I let go of all my Medicare clients at the time, and I tried to call in full fee private paying clients, and I made a real mess of it. And looking back, the problem was I was desperate for appointments because I had bills to pay. And my situation was that I wasn't married, I don't have parents who can help me out, I had a mortgage, it was like all on me. So I knew I was under so much pressure to bring money in, right? Otherwise I was going to lose my home, lose my car, all those kinds of scary things that we don't like to think about. And so what ended up happening was a couple of things. Number one, I had really bad boundaries. I was over delivering because I was that scared that people weren't going to rebook or that people weren't going to book in the first place. So I was constantly giving. The other thing that I did was, like, I would say these are my work hours, and then if somebody said they really wanted to see me after hours, I'd panic that I was going to lose that money or that I was going to lose that client. And so I'd say, oh, that's fine, I'll see you at 7 p.m, on a Friday night. My pleasure. But actually it wasn't my pleasure. I was doing it because I was under financial pressure. Now, what this meant was that my diary was all over the place, which meant my energy was all over the place, which meant my concentration was all over the place, which meant my motivation fluctuated. I was barely making ends meet, and I started resenting my work. I started questioning whether or not I should just pack it in and go and work for somebody else's group practice. Do you know what I mean? Like, all those thoughts started coming into my mind. It was really, 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 really hard. The thing that turned it around was getting clear on who I wanted to work with. Now, I know I talk about this a lot, and I know you've heard other people talk about it, but let me just share with you what happened for me. People were saying to me, you need to have a niche, you need to have a niche. And I was resistant because I was desperate for money and I was desperate for appointments. So I resisted for a very long time the idea of a niche. I didn't want to miss out, right? It was missing out. It was fear of not getting clients, fear of financial stress, fear of all of those things, right? And I certainly didn't think that I was in any position to be turning away clients when I needed work. So that was why I resisted niching. But, you know, they say that you've got to hit rock bottom, right, in order to bounce back up. And that's what happened for me. I hit rock bottom. I was at a point where I just wasn't loving it, and I was ready to give it all up, and I thought, you know, I'm happy to give this like one last ditch attempt, or whatever you call it. And so, yeah, the advice that I got was, think about a client that you really liked working with and let that be your niche. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go all in. Now, at the time, I was listening to a lot of YouTube stuff by Gary V, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, who, you know, I struggle with, because just like his demeanor and how he talks and stuff like that, it's so anti how I like to show up and everything, but he had good content. So I was listening to his videos, and one of the things that he said was like, you got to go all in. If you're not going all in, then it's never going to work. So I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to do this niche thing. I'm going to figure out who I really want to work with, and I'm going to go all in. And so that's what I did. And I made a website, and I deleted it, and then I rewrote that website for my ideal client, for the one client with the one problem, and the one way I could help them. That's what I did. And I was scared AF to do this. So scared. But I went all in. And then I deleted my Instagram account and started a brand new Instagram account from scratch, 0 followers, and started speaking to this one person that I had in my mind that I wanted to work with. Now, I knew that the person that I wanted to work with was someone who valued transformation, someone who valued my guidance, someone who valued doing the work, someone who valued getting results, someone who values therapy, someone who values themselves, someone who values self-care, and I knew it was going to be a woman. So that was how I started, right? And the way that I came up with the idea of my ideal client was by thinking about all the clients I didn't want to work with and all the drama I didn't want to deal with. I didn't want to deal with people who were going to push back on my fees. I didn't want to deal with discount seekers and freebie seekers. I didn't want to deal with people who weren't going to do the work. I didn't want to deal with people who were feeling like they had to be there. I wanted to work with people who wanted to be there. So I figured out all the things I didn't want, and then the opposite, that's what I used to come up with the idea of who I did want to work with. And that's how I wrote my website, and that's how I started my Facebook and my Instagram. And I just went all in with that. And within a couple of weeks, what started to happen was I started to get results. Like, people started to reach out. People started booking. People started calling. Like, the phone started ringing. And it was my ideal client. nearly every single time it was my ideal client. And there were times when it wasn't my ideal client that called as well. And if I was able to help them and it was within the scope of my competence and I felt like I could help them, then sure, we went ahead and booked in sessions. But where it wasn't like my area of expertise and where it wasn't within my competence, I'll just refer them on to a colleague in my area, right? So easy. And this was how I built my diary. And the diary building came from having that clear marketing approach, but it also came from referrals that I then started getting from other practitioners in my area who I had been referring to. So there started to be this reciprocal relationship. People started to give back to me and to my business. And then what started to happen was, as these clients started to book in, it was slowish at the beginning, and they were phasing in as I was phasing out the current clients that weren't ideal. So one was phasing in while one was phasing out, and I really noticed, it was so clear how much I loved working with my ideal client. I would see clients that weren't a fantastic fit for me, in the morning, and then after lunch I'd have an ideal client, and it was just totally different energy. I was in a different vibe, they were in a different vibe, they were motivated, they wanted guidance, they were coachable, all those kinds of things. And anyway, then word of mouth started happening, because they started telling their friends and their peers and their colleagues about me and how much they were loving the sessions and all of that. And then I started getting clients booking in as a result of word of mouth from my ideal clients. I didn't get any word of mouth from my clients that were not ideal, right? And I don't want word of mouth from clients who weren't ideal, because I don't want to be filling up the diary with those people or those situations or those problems or whatever it was, right? So that was how I did it. And I think the scariest part was deciding to do it and then actually taking the action, because I really did feel like I was going to be losing work, losing opportunities, all of that, if I got focused on who I wanted to work with and started speaking only to that person. So I was very scared. But I knew I couldn't continue the way that I had. As the people I was working with that I was phasing out tapered right down, and my diary started filling up more with the clients that I did want to be working with, I found myself in a position where I didn't have to see as many clients in order to meet my financial obligations. So what happened was I started to be able to experience what it meant to work less, but make what I needed to make or more, and have work-life balance, because it had been so long since I had work-life balance. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had work-life balance. All I had been doing up until that point was seeing clients from like 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And I've been doing that 5 or 6 days a week, most weeks, for years. So now, all of a sudden, I was in a position where I could see 6 clients a day. I was making the same money that I was when I was seeing all those other clients. So I reduced my volume of work, and I had my afternoons and evenings to myself again. And that is when I started to get my life back. That is when I started doing ballroom dancing. And I loved it so much that I was doing it 3 nights a week. And on weekends I was going to competitions. And I was loving it. I loved competitive ballroom dancing. And the other thing that I did was I started doing hiking. So I joined lots of hiking groups in my area, and I went on big hikes every weekend that I wasn't competing in ballroom dancing, that is. I totally loved it. I had all the hiking gear, all the equipment, totally loved it. And then went further with that and started doing big trips. So I trekked Everest Base Camp. I did the Camino 3 times, the Camino to Santiago. So I walked from like Spain to Santiago, Portugal to Spain. I walked from Paris to Spain. All of this for weeks at a time because I could. So I got my life back and I was able to have relationships again. I was dating again. So everything started like to improve. My whole life got better as a result of me hitting rock bottom and realizing something needed to change and being willing to go all in and just 100% all in despite the fear. That's what I did, and that's how I turned it around. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, that all sounds good, but how long practically in real terms in 2024 is it going to take me to transition from NDIS clients to private fee paying? Well, the reality is any marketing is going to take you 90 days, right? So you're looking at minimum a 3-month transition. Can you speed it up? Yes, you can. You can speed it up with Google Ads. However, Google Ads, the reason I'm saying Google Ads is because 70 to 80% of therapy clients find their therapist on the internet, not on social media, on the internet. So that's what I'm saying, run Google Ads. However, a Google ad will only work if you have a good website. A good website is a website that's getting you inquiries and that's getting you bookings. A good website is a website that has compliance, that has good copy, that has good functionality, that provides a good user experience, all those kinds of things. If your website doesn't have that, you can spend as much money as you want on Google Ads and you'll never get any return on your investment. So it begins by making sure you've got a really good website. With that really good website as well, it needs to speak to your ideal client, so your messaging needs to be good, right? You can't have general messaging. It's got to be specific. So step 1 would be identify who you really don't want to work with. Use that information to identify who you do want to work with. Delete your website, start again, and write that website, everything on it, to the ideal client. Once that's done, optimize your website. Once that's done, start Google Ads. Now, the other thing that will really help you is to understand that marketing isn't only about having a website and if you want to post on social media, marketing on your social media. It's not only about that. There's more to it. Part of marketing is about refining. So, when was the last time you checked your metrics on your Instagram posts, for example? And when was the last time you did something with that information? So you need to be using your metrics, whether it's your website, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. You need to be using those metrics to refine your marketing strategy. You just posting stuff is not marketing, right? It's not. It's you posting stuff, and it will never get you a client. The other thing too is to understand that don't be discouraged if people aren't liking your posts or commenting on your posts, because for us as practitioners in our industry, that has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on conversion. Right? The reason being, so many people, there's just stigma, right? And so many people just do not want the stigma associated with liking your post or commenting on it. So it doesn't mean that they're not going to book with you. You will know if your marketing strategy, if you've got one, is working by the number of inquiries you're getting. So on social media, you'll be getting inquiries in the comments or in your messages. If you're not getting inquiries, then either you don't have a strategy, or the strategy you've got isn't working because you're not refining it. You're just continuing to do the same thing over and over and over. Sorry, hoping for a different result, not getting one, and then thinking marketing is hard and marketing sucks. It's not hard, it doesn't suck, you just don't know what to do. Okay, and you don't know what to do because you probably haven't done a private practice marketing course, right? So it's not your fault, but without having that knowledge, you won't have the skill, which means you won't get the result. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm sharing with you today what to do so that you can create a marketing strategy and so that you can start to get results. All right? So I'm just going to leave it there. Oh, no, I want to say about EAP. It's a similar process for EAP, and I have done previous episodes on this. So you can go into your app, I was going to say iTunes app or Podbean app or Spotify app, whatever you're listening to. Go into that app and you can just do a search and you'll find it. But if you don't have time or you're driving and you just can't, let me just give you the quick rundown on how to convert an EAP client to private. The whole point of EAP is that you do convert clients to private. Now, some of you may be on contracts where you're not able to do that, but it's highly unlikely. I know that there's one EAP company that prohibits it. I don't know why that is. It makes no sense. However, that company aside, EAP requires you to move clients into private sessions because the whole premise of EAP is that it saves the employer money. So if you're delivering EAP services to a client and they've been approved for 4 sessions and you want to work with them because you want the money or you think the client still needs help, you don't say to the client, go back to your employer and ask for another 4 sessions. And you don't say to the client, I will go back to the employer and ask for another 4 sessions. You don't do that because that undermines the whole point of EAP. You'll ruin your reputation. You'll lessen and slow the flow of referrals that you get because they can't trust you they can't trust you to save them money, right? You're not doing your job. Your job is to deliver the amount of sessions that the client has been approved for and then shift that client where it's clinically indicated into private sessions with you where the client pays. So you should always be converting EAP clients into private. When you understand this and you know how to do it and you've got the right mindset about it and you have a process that you feel comfortable with and that aligns with you and all of that sort of jazz, you'll have a conversion rate of 70 to 80%. Easy. And I know this because other private practice owners do exactly this and they get more referrals from the EAP. So what ends up happening is that EAP says, wow, Brooklyn's amazing. She sees our clients for 4 sessions and then we don't have to pay her anymore. That's so good for us. And the team member or the staff member or the employee is still here and they're improving, they're doing well, they're getting better at attending the workplace, they're getting better at focusing on their job, they're making fewer mistakes, they're getting along with the new manager or the new team leader, they're getting along with their colleagues better, they're meeting their deadlines better. So the employer is happy, which makes the EAP provider that gave you the referral happy. And then your client who came through to you, who saw you 4 times, is happy because now they get to continue to work with you, right? So this is how it's supposed to work. You are not meant to see EAP clients, wait until they've finished their allocated sessions and then wait for another EAP client, because all that will happen is you'll fill up your diary with a lot of EAP clients and you get paid really horrible money for it. Horrible. There are EAPs that pay $60, $70, $80, $100. It's horrible money. You are the service that you provide is worth at a minimum $160. Successful private practices see EAP as not as a way to not have to market their business. They're free leads. Every EAP client that comes through to your practice is a warm lead, right? It's someone that you haven't had to go on Facebook to get. You haven't had to go on Instagram to get. You haven't had to send an email to get. You haven't had to improve your website to get. This is a client that's been given to you on a silver platter. So, of course, your job is to convert that client from EAP, where you're getting $60 or $80, to private, where you get $160. Everybody is expecting you to do that. The client is expecting you to do that. The employer is expecting you to do that. And the EAP provider that gave you the referral is expecting you to do that. So it's fine for you to do it. Get out of your own head. Get out of your own way. Understand the process. Understand the expectations. And follow them. And what will happen is you will start to see that every EAP referral that comes through is simply a warm lead. Yes, you're going to have to suck it up and see them the first 4 times for $80. But after that, the next 4 times, it's going to be for $160. Okay? And you didn't have to pay a single cent for a Google ad or a Facebook ad or anything like that. You didn't have to go and get it on your social media. They were given to you on a silver platter. That is the mindset. That is the approach. That is the attitude. In that sense, it's like I see it as a gift, right? So that's how you convert your EAP clients into private practice clients. And that's how you stop your diary getting full up of $80 appointments, and you have maybe just 4 or 5 $80 appointments a week, and the other, 14 or 15 appointments are $160. Right? That's what you do. That's what you do. So I hope that this was helpful. If you've decided that you want to refine your processes, but you're just not sure how, if you've got things happening in your private practice that you're not really happy with, or they aren't going so well, or they're not working out and you don't know why, I can help you with that. You can apply for a 15-minute business strategy session. It doesn't cost you anything. And what we'll do is I'll get you to fill out a form for me that tells me a little bit about your practice, about what's going on, about where you're at, about what's working, what's not, what your goals are, what the problems are. And so I've got that sort of pre-information before we hop on a call together. And then when we're on that call, what I'll do is I will help you create like a little roadmap for yourself for the next 90 days. So you'll get a couple of action steps. I'll tell you if there's things to stop doing or let go of. I'll tell you, and I'll tell you what they are, and I'll tell you why. Likewise, if there's things for you to start doing or to do more of, I'll tell you what they are, how, and why, so that you understand. And then you can go ahead and you can do all of those things. And if there's anything else that I've got that could be useful for you, like a program or a service or a downloadable or a printable or something like that, I'm going to tell you about that as well. All right? So if that would be helpful for you, you can email me support@brooklynstorme.com, and you can request a link to apply for a free business strategy session, right? And I'll send you the link. It's that easy. Or you can DM me and ask me for the link. You can DM me on Instagram @theprivatepracticecoach, or you can just send me a message on Facebook and ask for the link. So there's help there for those of you who want help. There's always going to be people who are like, I'm fine, I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing, and that's totally fine. But for those of you who are like, yeah, I think this is the year I want to turn it around. Last year was full of problems. Last year was full of challenges. Last year I felt like I was pushing it all uphill. But I want this year to be about abundance. I want this year to be about ease. I want this year to be about simplifying things. I want this year to be easier than last year. Then you're the one that this business strategy session is for. All right? It's there for you if that's your situation. And it's perfect if you haven't started your practice but you're thinking about it. We can talk about how to get started and we can make you a little plan, but it's also there for those of you who are already in an established private practice but you're wanting some guidance. Okay, you can use it for help with marketing, your niching, your ideal clients, business systems, processes, policy help and guidance, financial predictability help, financial guidance, fees and fee help, all those sorts of things. You can use it for that, right? It just like open mind. Whatever you're having the trouble with, just tell me and I'll help you figure it out. We can do it together. And there's no obligation or anything like that either. It's just a support that's there for those of you that want a little bit of help at the moment. And you can get it, as I said, from me. It's just a 15-minute phone call. We're not going to get on Zoom or Google Meet. Don't stress. It's just a 15-minute call. All right? So if you want the link, email me support@brooklynstorme.com or message me on socials. But otherwise, I hope this was a really helpful episode for you. Feel free to leave a comment or a message and review the podcast. It will help me to help more people by Instagram and Podbean and Spotify sharing it to more private practice owners who might benefit from it. Thank you so much for being part of my world and have a beautiful day. Bye.